What's going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with the Wraparound. We're going to be breaking down the NHL action going down on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you leave your NHL picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily $15 NHL best bet, head to Pickdawgz.com, click the Premium Picks tab at the top of the page. I also put up all my season passes as well. We got the Road to the Cup NHL season pass, as well as season passes for football, whether it's college, NFL, or both. You can check those out, as well as our long-term passes. Whatever you choose to do, though, use that promo code PICK at checkout for 15% off your purchase. Well, we're back finally for the full wraparound experience. We did have the two games, I should say, the one game a day series in Europe between the Devils and the Sabres. Didn't go our way in either of those games. I'm going to be fully transparent. I've said this time and time again that I feel that, use the first couple weeks of the NHL regular season. Place bets here and there, games that you love. There's no problem with that. But use this mostly to establish a sample size for at least the first couple of weeks, just to see what these teams look like. Maybe they have new players. Maybe they're, just going through coaching changes, new philosophies, whatever. Use that, or use the first couple weeks to do that mostly. But we're not going to dodge it here. We're still going to come back bigger and hit it harder than ever. So what do you say? Let's not wait any longer. You ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game of the regular season, like I said, I'm going to exclude those Europe games, but comes to us from Climate Pledge Arena. It's a matinee matchup between the Seattle Kraken and the St. Louis Blues. And for me, this is the most stable game on the board in terms of, no banner-raising narratives, no real roster movements on both sides. I mean, there were a lot more movements made by the Seattle Kraken, but the most noteworthy change was made behind the bench as Dan Bilesma comes over and takes over the gig in Seattle. But the problem for me is that you didn't do a whole lot to improve a Seattle Kraken team that wasn't very good last year. Yes, they, had some goaltending issues. Philip Grubauer was banged up a lot of the year, leading to a bunch of, basically a revolving door of goaltenders for the Kraken. And Joey Decord was the one that ate up most of those starts. And I do expect Grubauer and Decord to have pretty much a 50-50 split in starts this season. But that's not necessarily what I think the Kraken need. The St. Louis Blues pretty much kept everything in-house. They added a lot more than they subtracted with anything this past offseason. And Jordan Binnington got back into form last year. The St. Louis Blues barely missed out on the playoffs. And I think this is a Blues team that can definitely go back to making some noise. The Seattle Kraken were one of the least profitable teams at home last season, despite Seattle having, a great home ice edge, with Seattle clamoring for hockey for the longest time. But last year, it kind of fell flat, and they were the second least profitable team at home in the NHL. When you look at their numbers as a home favorite, they were only 12-9 last year. So it's hard for me to sort of get behind the Seattle Kraken at this price. I think the Blues were one of the more valuable underdogs last year in the NHL. I'm going to go back to them here. I'm going to take the Blues here at plus 120. Now we head to Amerant Bank Arena for a playoff rematch between the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers and a team that was knocked out by the Florida Panthers, the Boston Bruins. And for the Bruins, the Jeremy Swayman saga is over, finally inking an 8-year deal. So he looks to be the goalie of the future for the Bruins as well. And the Bruins, made quite the shift from, was one of the deeper teams in the NHL last year. And that's not to say they're not still one of the deepest teams in the NHL, but they shifted out Linus Ullmark. They shifted out familiar faces like James Van Riemsdyk, like Matt Grzelcyk, Danton Heinen, and Jake DeBrusk, all gone. Brought in Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov as well. But like I said, this looks to be the direction that the Bruins are headed. They still have their core, and I still think the Bruins are going to be one of the best teams in the NHL this season. And so are the Florida Panthers, who pretty much stuck to the status quo. They did lose some key pieces: Vladimir Tarasenko, Brandon Montour, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, all gone. As well as Anthony Stolarz. They brought in Chris Driedger as a backup goalie. But still, I think this is going to be the Sergei Bobrovsky show in terms of goaltending for the Panthers this season. But what we did see last year between these two teams was a lot of low-scoring battles, and I think that even in the opener, I think we're going to see more of the same here. The Florida Panthers, still one of the top defensive teams in the NHL last year. And you look between these two teams, across the 10 meetings that these two teams had last year, including the playoffs, the majority of those ended up going under the total. 7-3 to the 6-4 to the under in their last 10. And a lot of that was playoff hockey, but even if you look at the regular season meetings, 3-2, 3-1, 3-2. I do lean towards the Bruins for a side based on the value, because sometimes you can see a bit of a hangover in these banner raising ceremonies, especially with the Panthers winning their first cup last year. But I'm going to go with the under 5.5 in this one. I think this one's going to be all about the goaltending in the opener. So give me the under here. And our final game on the card takes us to the Delta Center for the debut of the Utah Hockey Club. Still gives me those weird, icky Washington football team vibes. But anyways, we're going to have a team name for the Utah team next year. But what we do have still are the Chicago Blackhawks, who were one of the worst road teams in the NHL last year. And, there wasn't, for me, a whole lot done to this Blackhawks team to really improve that. Sure, you brought in a viable backup in Laurent Brossoit, who could end up, proving to be the starting goaltender for the Blackhawks this season to pair up with Peter Mrazek. But another game where I think you could see a 50-50 split of the goaltending duties. Now, there were pieces brought in like Toivo Teravainen, Tyler Bertuzzi, TJ Brody, Ilya Mikheyev was a nice addition as well. But is that enough to improve the status of this Blackhawks team? And right out of the gate, I'm going to say no. I'm just going to take the assumption of, until the Blackhawks prove that they're going to step up and improve this season, that they're still going to be the same Blackhawks that are still rebuilding. I think they're going to take a step forward this year. I think Connor Bedard is going to be a reason why they take a step forward as he continues to ascend. But let's face it, this Arizona, what used to be, I'm going to do that a few times in the first couple wraparounds. This Utah team that used to be the Arizona Coyotes is still a decent team on paper. The thing about Utah going forward, though, is that there's excitement in Utah. There is an ownership group that is going to back this team. There is financial backing for this team, which they didn't have for the longest time, and it's created optimism. They don't have to play in a 5,000-seat stadium in Arizona anymore. Utah has got the backing. They sold out their lone preseason game. The vibes are high in Utah right now, and I like the direction that this Utah team is headed. Like I said, until the Blackhawks, to me, prove that they are ready to take that step to be a team that can compete, this is still the same team to me that last year went just 6-34 as a road dog. I got to go with the Utah Hockey Club here to start the season with a bang. Whether it's in regulation or on the 1.5 puck line, it's your choice, but I'm going to go with Utah on this one. That's it. That's all the NHL action for Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And make sure you let me know your NHL picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium as well. Remember to use that promo code PICK at checkout for an additional 15% off your purchase. Thanks so much. See you guys soon.